Today, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to take a planning application and basically pull it apart, piece by piece. We'll look at how an idea for new homes actually becomes a detailed blueprint using a real proposal in the village of Nozzle as our guide.
You've probably wondered this yourself, right? You see an empty field on the edge of town, and then suddenly there's a sign up, a proposal to build. But what actually happens in between? How does that transformation get planned? Well, let's get into it.
So at the very heart of this particular plan is this number, 90 new homes. And that number, that scale, it sets the tone for everything else we're about to look at, from traffic reports and school places to the economic impact.
So, picture this. The site is 2 agricultural fields, just being used for grazing right now, right on the northern edge of Nossel. The company behind the plan, Richborough, wants to turn this land into something new, and their entire case starts with one really fundamental argument.
You see, every single one of these planning applications has to start with a why. Why here? Why now? And for the developer, the answer is all wrapped up in a really critical bit of national planning policy.
It all comes down to this thing called the 5-year housing land supply. It sounds technical, but it's pretty simple. The government says every local council has to prove it's got enough land ready to go for 5 years' worth of new housing. And if a council can't prove that, well, the rules of the game change completely.
And here it is. This is the crucial bit of evidence. The application states that Stafford Borough Council only has a 2.71-year supply of housing land. That's way short of the 5-year target. Now, when that happens, something called the tilted balance kicks in. It basically creates a presumption in favor of sustainable development. It makes it much harder for the council to say no. Honestly, this shortfall is the key that unlocks the developer's entire case.
And to make their case even stronger, the proposal throws in a major community benefit. A full 40% of the homes, that's 36 of them, will be designated as affordable housing. That's a big deal, and it's designed specifically to tackle local housing needs and tick a major policy box for the council.
So the main argument is in place, but now comes the really tough part. They have to prove that the development is technically possible and, crucially, that it won't cause any harm. This means running a gauntlet of all kinds of specialist reports.
First up, noise. A study found that, yeah, the nearby A518 road creates traffic noise. But the verdict? The solution is pretty standard stuff. Good quality double glazing is all it's going to take to make sure the new homes are quiet enough for the people living there.
Okay, next, water. The site itself isn't a high flood risk, but as soon as you start building, you change the way rainwater runs off the land. The fix for this is what's called a sustainable drainage system. Think of things like a holding pond or an attenuation basin and grassy channels, which will capture and slow down rainwater to make sure the new homes don't cause flooding somewhere else.
What about wildlife? Well, obviously, if you build on fields, you're going to lose some of that habitat. But here's where modern planning comes in. The law now requires something called biodiversity net gain. And this is a perfect example. The plan doesn't just replace what's lost, it actually creates new habitats. The result? A calculated 14% net gain for habitats and a massive nearly 50% gain for hedgerows. It's about leaving nature in a better state than they found it.
And of course, the one everyone always worries about, traffic. The report gets super specific. It estimates 59 extra two-way car trips during the morning rush hour. So what's the conclusion? That with some upgrades to a local junction, the road network can handle that increase without causing what planners call a severe impact.
Okay, so all the technical boxes have been ticked. That proves the development can be built. But now we get to the vision. What's this new neighborhood actually going to look and feel like to live in?
This one quote from the planning documents really sums up the whole vibe. The idea isn't just to plunk down a bunch of houses. It's to create a place that feels like it actually belongs there, that's connected to the village and the landscape around it.
So how do you do that? Well, the blueprint shows they plan on keeping most of the old hedgerows, planting a brand new community orchard, and designing the whole thing around a central village green. They're also adding new footpaths to connect with existing walking routes. And to avoid that boring, cookie-cutter look, they're planning different character areas. They've even thought about details like keeping 21 meters between the backs of houses just to make sure everyone has their privacy.
And now, to round out the whole application, the developer presents the final part of their argument, the cold, hard numbers, the economic and social benefits they claim the project will bring to the area.
First up is this massive figure, £8.6 million. Now, this isn't just about the cost of building. It's something called net present social value.
Think of it like all the positive ripple effects over the long term, like the healthcare savings you get from giving 90 families a stable, warm, quality home to live in.
Then you've got the immediate economic boost. Just during the construction phase, the project is expected to pump £4.5 million in what's called gross value added into the economy. That's the direct value from local jobs on site and money paid to local suppliers.
And finally, there's the benefit that keeps on giving. It's estimated that the new families moving in will spend nearly £1 million in the local economy every single year. That's money supporting Gnassel's local shops and services for years to come.
And all of this brings us right back to the fundamental question that sits at the heart of every single planning decision. You've got housing targets, biodiversity scores, traffic numbers, the promise of new spending, and the desire to protect the character of a place. It's this incredibly complex balancing act. We've just looked at the anatomy of one proposal, but that final question, what do we value most? That's something every community has to figure out for itself.